In this video, we are going to go over how to solve two-step inequalities. If you think back to when we solved two-step equations, these steps listed here on the screen should look very familiar because they are essentially going to be the same steps that we used when solving equations with only slight adjustments toward the end for the inequality. So our first step is still going to be to identify the variable we are trying to solve for. Step 2, identify what is preventing that variable from being by itself, and we must determine what operation is needed to undo it. Step 3, we need to actually do that operation. Step 4, we're going to repeat steps 1 through 3. And then step 5, we will have arrived at our final answer that we just need to graph. So let's look at an example. Here we have negative 7 times, in parentheses, a plus 7 is greater than or equal to negative 147. So when we look at this, we want to get the a by itself. So the variable we are trying to get by itself is the a. Right now, he's inside parentheses, and we have this 7 right here that is preventing it from being by itself. So how do we undo multiplication? We would need to divide both sides by that negative 7. So over here on the left, our negative 7s are going to cancel, which is going to leave us with our a plus 7. And when we think about our inequality, the only time we change our inequality is if we multiply or divide by a negative number. Did we do that? Yes, we divided by a negative 7, so our inequality needs to change the direction that it's facing. And then that negative 147 divided by negative 7 gives us a 21. Now this problem becomes a simple or one-step problem. Now we have to get rid of that plus 7, so go ahead and subtract 7 on both sides. That's going to give us a. The 7 minus 7 cancels out, and 21 minus 7 gives us a 14. So we have our answer of a is less than or equal to 14. So we can find 14 on our number line. It is going to be a closed circle because we have that or equals to part of our inequality. And a is less than. So where are the numbers less than 14? Over here to the left. So we can go ahead and fill in our graph. And we have solved and graphed this example right here. Let's look at a second example. Here we have negative 8m plus 4 is less than or equal to negative 108. So we need to isolate that m. We're trying to get this m right here by itself. The first thing we need to do to get rid of it would be to move that plus 4 to the other side. We would do that by subtracting 4. When we add or subtract, we don't have to worry about changing the direction of our inequality, so it's going to stay the same. We have our negative 8m. The 4 minus 4 equals 0, so it cancels out. And our negative 108 minus 4 gives us a negative 112. What did I forget over there on the left? I forgot to carry down that m, so we need to go ahead and put him there. So now we're looking at a negative 8m is less than or equal to negative 112. We are still trying to get that m by itself. So now to undo a multiply by negative 8, we would need to divide both sides by negative 8. When we divide or multiply by a negative number, we need to change the direction of our inequality. Our negative 8's cancel out, leaving us with just our m. And negative 112 divided by negative 8 gives us a 14. So we have our inequality here. So m is greater than or equal to 14. So we can find 14 on our number line. It's going to be a closed circle because we have that or equals to part of the inequality. And where are the numbers greater than 14? That would be over here to the right. So we can go ahead and color in our number line. And we have solved this second example. Let's look at a third example. Here we have a -1 plus r all being divided by -3 is less than 3. So we need to go ahead and think about that numerator as being in parentheses, because it is all being divided by something. How do you undo division? You would need to go ahead and multiply both sides by -3. If we multiply or divide an inequality by a negative number, our sign needs to change directions. So we turned him around. Our negative 3's over here are going to cancel out, leaving us with our -1 plus r. And 3 times -3 gives us a -9. Now to get our r by itself, we still need to take care of that -1. So we would need to add 1 to both sides. So here on the left, the 1's are going to cancel. We're going to have just the r is greater than -9 plus 1 gives us a -8. We have our inequality. Now we can go ahead and draw our graph. So find -8 on our number line. It's going to be an open circle because we do not have the or equals to part of that inequality. And we want the numbers that are greater than -8. So that would be over here to the right. We can go ahead and draw our line. And we have solved another example. Okay, let's look at another example. Here we have n being divided by -5, and then add 3, greater than or equal to 1. So the first thing is we're trying to get this n by himself, so we need to get rid of that plus 3. So we would subtract 3 on both sides. When you add or subtract, we don't have to worry about changing direction of our inequality. It is going to stay facing the same direction. So we have an n being divided by -5. Our 3 minus 3 gives us 0, so that cancels. And 1 minus 3 gives us a -2. Now we are still trying to get n by itself. Now what's preventing it from being by itself is that divide by -5. You undo division by multiplying, so we need to multiply both sides by -5. When you multiply or divide an inequality by a negative number, you need to change the direction of your inequality. So let's turn him around there. We have a -5 being divided by -5. That's going to cancel, leaving us with n, and -2 times -5 gives us 10. So n is less than or equal to 10. So we can now draw our graph. So find 10 on our number line. It's going to be a closed circle because we had the or equals to part. And then we want all of the numbers that are less than. So where are the numbers less than 10? That's over here to the left. So we can go ahead and fill in our line. And don't forget to draw your arrow. Let's look at another example. Here, we've changed the side that the variable is on, but nothing else has really changed. We still have an inequality. 64 is greater than -8 times, in parentheses, -1 plus r. So we're still trying to get that r by itself. Right now he's in parentheses and being multiplied. So how do we undo that times -8? We would need to divide both sides by -8. When you multiply or divide an inequality by a negative number, you need to change the direction of your inequality. So let's go ahead and draw that there. We have 64 divided by -8 is going to give us a -8. -8 divided by -8 is going to cancel, leaving us with just that -1 plus r, and what's preventing the r from being by itself now is that negative 1, so we would need to add 1 to both sides. When you add or subtract, you don't worry about changing the direction of your inequality, so it stays. We have a negative 8 plus 1, which is going to give us a negative 7, is less than, and the negative 1 plus 1 is going to cancel, leaving us with just an r. And if you've watched the previous videos, when we went to graph it, we went ahead and changed the direction to make it easier on us. So this is actually, I'm reading it backwards, r is greater than negative 7. So I can find my negative 7 on the graph. Find my negative 7 on the graph, and we would use a open circle because it does not have the or equals to part. And we want all of the numbers that are greater than negative 7. That would be over here to the right. We can go ahead and color in our line and draw our arrow. Let's look at one last example. Here we have 9 plus n divided by 5 is less than 13. So we need to get n by itself. We first need to send that 9 to the other side. So we undo a positive 9 with subtraction. 9 minus 9 gives us a 0, leaving us with n over 5, is less than 13 minus 9 gives us 4. We are still trying to get that n by itself. How do we undo a divide by 5? We would need to multiply by 5. We didn't multiply by a negative number, so we don't have to worry about switching the sign. It's going to stay. Our 5 divided by 5 cancels, leaving us with just n, and 4 times 5 gives us 20. So we now can go ahead and graph. Find your 20 on the number line. It's going to be an open circle because we do not have the or equals to part, and we want everything that is less than that 20. So that's over here to the left. We can go ahead and draw our line. So hopefully watching this video has helped explain how to solve and graph your two-step inequalities.